Okay. So now we're going to change up our period style just a little bit. We're still in the classical world, but we're very specifically in a period that art historians call the High Classical period. And this period is just a 50-year chunk of time from around 450 BCE to 400 BCE. And why is this called the High Classical period? It's because art historians see this as the high point of classical art. It's the classicus of the classicus. It's the highest of the highest order. And in this 50-year period, we see the establishment of rules and visual elements in the body and in architecture. When I say the body, I mean sculpture. In sculpture and in architecture that are going to be continued throughout the rest of Western civilization and the rest of art history. I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. Okay, go back to this definition here. A high classical period, 450 to 400, regarded as the high point in the development of the classical art and the most refined expressions for their concern with proportion and composition in idealization of human figures. I should also add buildings, because we're going to be looking at some buildings and we're going to be taking those rules of architecture established here in the high classical period and working with them later. It's a lot to build up to, I know, but it's true. It's true. Art historians love this stuff. I know I'm kind of disassociating myself with this, but it's because they're such snobs. Our first work of art for the high classical, see it right there? I've changed our period style, is this work. The artist is Myron, and the artwork is called the Discobolos, which is just Greek for the discus thrower. So that was my 5-year-old. Okay. What were we talking about? Myron is the artist, and this is a copy of his bronze original artwork, and the artwork is called the Discus Thrower, or if you want to be fancy, you can say Discopolos. The discus thrower that we're looking at here is in the act of throwing a, yep, you guessed it, discus. Now, the caption I've put here, Roman marble copy of a bronze original. We're going to find that kind of captioning a lot, or I should say often, in this class, because the Romans loved all of this Greek stuff and they wanted copies of it. And so it was not unusual for multiple copies done in marble of the more expensive bronze casted originals. And that's the case here. You can usually tell if something is a marble copy of a bronze original because they require additional support. Do you see it back here? This stump that is resting behind his leg. Let me find another view. Check it out. So here we are looking at him from behind, and you see this additional block of marble. The additional block of marble is there to support the weight of this figure because marble works best in compression rather than tension. The original bronze piece did not require this additional support. The original bronze piece was supported by just 1 foot and the tips of the toes. Oh. Again, this is just like we saw in the Zeus or Poseidon. This is an artist who knows his material, and he's totally showing off by having this figure in motion and this heavy size resting on simply 1.25 feet, right? 1 foot and the tops of the toes of the other foot. Oh, beautiful. He's called the discus thrower because we see this young man caught or frozen in the act of throwing a discus. This is a performance, or this is an event that would often happen at various athletic competitions, one of them being the Olympics. The Olympics held every 4 years. So we see this athlete that has been trained for this specific physical motion, this action, and he's caught here at the pinnacle, the rise before he lets it roar and sail past him. So, okay, talk about activation of space. Yeah, the figure is not frontal. Instead, he's twisted at the torso and he's bent forward and pulling back. So we see a figure that is counterbalanced, pushing forward and back and up and down. He is completely balanced in this moment before the not downfall, I don't want to make it sound bad, the downward motion of that arm. Why are we looking at a statue of an athlete, a naked athlete? Well, first off, athletes practiced in the nude. They didn't have fancy, spandex or moisture wicking fabrics. So it was easier and less dangerous to just fight naked. So athletes would fight in the nude, or not fight, would practice in the nude. And here we see the discus thrower, and he is primed for this physically and mentally. Look at that face, right? Look at the body. Look at the time and dedication to craft that body. Now, we've already talked about the male body in Greek culture. The male body is seen as a symbol of one's dedication to the Greek world and their gods. And so here, this man, he is showing his time and dedication and strength and discipline to create this body and to practice this motion, to be so perfectly in tune with the act of throwing this discus. Why would we want to see a statue of this? Well, we still like to appreciate our athletes. We do this today. The ESPN body issue comes out once a year. It always features the top performing athletes who have agreed to it in the nude. These ESPN body issues, I mean, there is like a sense of sexiness and eroticism. You get to see people naked. But it's also to appreciate the athletic build, the form and shape of their muscles as they go through the motions of their sport. To appreciate the finely tuned instrument that is their body, and the time and the dedication that they have put into it to be so celebrated and skilled in their sport. So when we look at the Myron Discopoulos discus thrower, and we look at these ESPN body issues, we are doing the same admiration for the athlete. They are in perfect harmony, in tune with their body, their mind, their effort, their discipline. In terms of composition, I like this one specifically because you can see how the body has this kind of rotation, the rotation here. In terms of the composition of Myron's piece, not only do we have the push and pull of the figure, but look at how it creates these positive and negative shapes. What do I mean by that? It's not only balanced in its push and pull, forward and backwards, up and down, but Myron has also created these two major V's that echo, one here and one here. You see that? And then if you take it from the top of his fingertips down to the bottoms of his toes, we see the zigzag in the composition, going from one diagonal down to another, down to another, down to another. So the composition, while it is static and still, the sculpture is still, it has this pattern of a zigzag that moves your eye up and down, this line of energy, this line of force within the figure. Myron, who sculpted this, became a international sensation. And so copies, like this marble copy, were made of the bronze original and sent all over the Mediterranean world. Sadly, we do not have the Greek bronze original, but it is what it is.